One of the main things that you learn in medicine is to take decision under a lot of uncertainty, a lot of risk. This is exactly what we are doing when we are managers. We are taking decision under a lot of uncertainty. Very little or very few CEOs can take a company from inception to market without need to be replaced. So every dollar that you are spending, make sure that it brings you $2 on the valuation at the end.
Yeah. When you're reviewing an investment opportunity, what makes you say no quickly to a potential investment?
First, okay.
Welcome back to another episode of the GS MedTech Podcast, where I speak with industry leaders shaping the future of medtech. I'm Dame Medarsky, and today I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Irit Yaniv, a medtech investor, board leader, and ecosystem. Thank you for joining me today, Irit.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm glad to share my insights.
Thank you. So when I've looked at your LinkedIn profile, I've counted about 30 roles. 14 of those 30 are still open roles, and you're still active. And you've been a physician, CEO, founder, investor, chairperson, board member, and still are. Which role has shaped your medtech judgment the most?
Actually, not a role, but education, I would say. Okay.
Yeah.
I think my medical school shaped a lot of my ability to take decision today.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the main things that you learn in medicine when you study medicine is to take decision while there is uncertainty, okay? Under a lot of uncertainty, a lot of risk, you are not sure what the patient is, and you have to react. And this is exactly what we are doing when we are managers. We are taking decision under a lot of uncertainty, we don't know if we will have the money. We don't know what will happen. We don't know if the study will complete it on time, on budget, with the results that we have. And this is the same thing is applicable for an investor. You are taking decision under a lot of uncertainty. So when you ask me this is the point I would like to highlight. As for the career, my career, I would say it's tough to say, but I think my years as a manager created a lot of the things that I am applying today as an investor. How to treat manager, how to treat management, how to sit on the board and work together with management in order to create success. So I believe those years shape the current period of my life.
Yeah, you're almost, and I had a conversation with a CEO just a couple of weeks back that came from a family office, and her comment was, you almost see the other side when you're actually operational in a company and how the business is operating versus a board where you obviously are influencing the decisions, but you're not there day to day to be able to influence every single action.
Very, very, very true. I think one of the things that made me who I am right now, and you counted all these boards, and this is the reason people would like me to sit on their boards.
Yeah. Is
because I've been there. I know exactly how is it to be a CEO without money. I know how it is to be a CEO with money when I had the money, and I can really empathize what they are doing and how they achieve it. And at the same time, I can manage them, oversight them in a way that they will take it to the next step with me as an investor or as a board member.
Amazing. So when you first look at a medtech company to get yourself involved, what do you assess first? Is it the technology, the clinical need, the founder or founding team, regulatory path?
I would say the unmet need. You didn't mention it, but that's the clinical. Yeah. First, I would like to know that something like that can play in the patient journey or in the physician workflow. And there is a real need for such a device, a procedure or whatever. Once I get confident on that, the second thing would be the team, the management.
Yeah.
With the team, I judge two things, I would say, or I look at it on two ways. One, if there is a very good team, this would be easy judgment to go ahead and invest in such a company. If the team is weak, what I'm looking is what would be necessary in order to strengthen the team. Would a CFO, a chairperson be sufficient, or do I need to replace the team? I wouldn't say wouldn't, because you never know what is next, but I would feel less convenient to invest in a company where I feel that I have to replace the team, because this is a huge effort.
Almost like if it's a small portion that needs to be replaced in terms of experience, you might entertain it. But if it's obviously the full team, then it's a much more of a bigger undertaking to get yourself involved into that.
Yeah, exactly. I would prefer, the best would be a great team. But sometimes you feel that the team is weak in one or two aspects, and you can add it, you can advise them to add it, you can ask to add it as a condition to the investments. So this is okay. But replacing a team is a huge task.
But also in my opinion, and I can see it from talent perspective, from our guided solutions executive search side, is that sometimes the team that takes you through regulatory is not the team that takes you through commercial as well. So it's almost having that foresight to think about.
Foresight is okay. I'm absolutely, what you have said is a true. The team has to replace during the company maturation, I would say. There are very little or very few CEOs that can take a company from inception to market without need to be replaced, okay? There are some, but most of them need to be replaced on the way. So that's fine. While you are on the board and you are part of a group that would like to take the company from clinical to marketing, that's okay. That is something that I can entertain, and it's part of life. But investing the first check and replacing a team, that's something that I would prefer not to do.
I appreciate that. And you've mentioned obviously the clinical need or the unmet need. But then I'm assuming once you start developing the business, you go into clinical proof as well. What does clinical proof actually mean to you as an investor?
So I would like to see data. And because I'm a physician, and I consider myself a little bit of science still there. I'm digging into the data. Okay, so I know how you trick the data, and I know how to trick a diagram or a graph. So I'm going into the numbers, into the data, into the design of the clinical study, location of the clinical study. So all these parameters are really important for me.
Yeah.
The next step, after I convince with the data, is going out and speak with what we call KOLs. So, and there are two types: those that are working with a company that I'm doing the due diligence, and those that are don't. So I would like to have a sample of this and a sample of that.
Yeah.
And then, I build up my opinion.
Makes sense. And at what point does clinical data become commercially meaningful rather than just scientifically encouraging or yielding the decision to invest?
So first, in order to be commercial, the clinical data need to be applicable for regulatory bodies. So it's either the notified body or the FDA. So I would like to be convinced that they are going that way. So I checking that, the clinical data that either the company has or going to have will fulfill the regulatory requirements. And the second step is to be convinced that the company will be able to produce more clinical data for commercialization. And this mean good data for publication. This means data for reimbursement or supporting reimbursement, or make sure that reimbursement is not changing during the lifespan of a product. But this is something that we cannot foresee from the beginning. What we can foresee is if the CEO or if the team appreciate the need of a clinical group inside the company. So I'll give you an example. We had an exit recently with Bioprotect, and one of the things that if you go into the details of Bioprotect, they had to do one clinical study in order to get FDA approval. And, the study was successful and they got the FDA approval. What actually makes this company a real company is that they didn't give up on clinical after this study. On the contrary, they strengthened the clinical team. They continue to develop publication and in different angle, how the balloon affect people, benefit the physicians and benefit the patients. So they add a pile of clinical data and publication in such a way that when you look back, you say, wow, this is much more than a balloon. Yeah. This is really part of the treatment, of the therapeutic solution for a patient. And this is something that I think I appreciate and I believe others as well, hopefully.
And it makes sense, doesn't it? Because obviously your clinical data for your regulatory approval is only going as far. But then if you want to actually convince the clinicians that this product is something that they will need to undertake, and as a novel product, data needs to be much stronger to be able to convert that.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to convert. You need to be updated with what's going on because, you collected clinical data for regulatory 2020, but the regimen for oncology patients changes during time. So you have to show that your balloon or your protected device can fit to those changes. So you shouldn't stay still after you have collected the regulatory data. On the contrary, you have to build up relationship with physician. You have to initiate more post-marketing clinical studies in order to have your device fully updated with what's going on. That's one. Second, as you mentioned, convert and convince physicians. And third, keep the reimbursement level at the level that you would like to have, because otherwise, if you don't have enough or sufficient clinical data, this reimbursement could go down. Reimbursement fee could go down along the years.
Yeah. Going back in your experience, you led Eximo from preclinical development through to acquisition. What were the key inflection points on that journey that actually converted that to an acquisition? I appreciate it's many years ago.
Many years. First, I think our ability to identify the right clinical indication. When I joined Eximo, it was a technology that could go to many other clinical indications except from PAD, which at the end of the day, that was the primary. And we as a team had to select one clinical indication. And we did a lot of research, speaking with physicians, speaking with reimbursement and regulatory people in order to build up the case for a specific clinical indication, a case that will optimize the capital that we need to raise, time to market, and easy to gain reimbursement and regulatory and reimbursement approvals. So this was the first one. The second one was the clinical data that we had to present to a potential acquirer. And again, all this research and understanding went into the pivotal study design. And happily, we have fulfilled all the primary endpoint and secondary as well in order to prove that we have a superior device, although this was not a superior design study. Okay, yeah. So we had enough data to present, but we didn't have to take risk on patient number of sample size and other parameters into the study.
So in your opinion, how early should founders think about exit strategy without becoming obviously distracted from building the company?
I think first you have to build the company. Okay, you always have to think how well I can bring the company. I can build the company.
Yeah.
However, all of us knows that one product company in medtech is not easy, because you need a lot of money in order to make it happen. And usually this is exhausting, not only the fundraising, but also going into commercialization. So while they are building the company, they have to start and build up relationship with the potential acquirer. And the relationship are not for, okay, I'm going to be sold to you, or you are going to acquire me in such a way. Relationship are in order to understand the market trends and when would be the right time, what they need to show, and when will be the right time to open discussion about M&As and so on. And I don't think that BD relationship or this kind of discussions are disruptive. On the contrary, they learn a lot, they understand what they have to do, and these insights can go into the main root of building the company. And when the time is right, they can go ahead and shop the company. But I wouldn't try to shop any of my companies earlier than the right timing. And the right timing is something that I will learn during my discussions with the strategics.
Yeah. So obviously, and a lot of the strategics, at least in the last couple of years, they have started having their own CVCs as well. So they're starting to be an investor and an early supporter of companies rather than just waiting until the timing is right. So having that conversation with them early enough will enable you to maybe tap into that opportunity as well.
Yeah, and I agree. And sometimes people, and mainly CEOs, are concerned about having a strategic into the boardroom or the board table. And I think differently. I think they can bring a lot of insight and experience from what they are seeing. And if you don't give specific rights to them, or if the company is able not to give them rights rather than just equity, I think you benefit more than what you are losing. In our last M&A with Bioprotect, we had a strategic sitting on the table. At the end of the day, the company sold to another strategic, but the strategic brought a lot of insight, even during the final negotiation, how strategic things, what we should do this time or that time. So we need to appreciate their insight, their level of knowledge, and their ability to bring some experts, because they have it in the next room. So if we need something on clinical or statistics, they can bring it to the table very easily.
But you almost choose them in the right way. And I appreciate the industry and the macroeconomic climate at the moment is not allowing founders always to choose an investor and to pick investors. But obviously, sometimes it's more important money over experience. But if you are at that luxury position to be able to choose, even the investors that you bring to your cap table, you're thinking, what are they bringing above and beyond just the money? Because that's much more important than just the check.
Yeah. Yes, you are right. Sometimes I'm not in a position as a CEO to choose. I take what I
exactly.
get.
Yes.
But you should ask me another question. How can a CEO be in a position to
choose? Yes, that's the right question.
That's
Sorry.
The right question. And I think, as a CEO, if you have the right pitch, before you pitch someone, you know exactly what he would like to hear from you. By speaking with other people, by getting advice, is the likelihood that you will have more than one investor on the other side is higher.
It's you're absolutely right. Having that ability to prepare yourself for that campaign, but also have a foresight that fundraising doesn't stop and you need to continue even when you've closed the round. You continue to have conversations with those investors that are maybe for your future round. That's when you build that pipeline of potential opportunities further down the road as well. And the result.
I'm sorry to stop you, but I think relationship is something that we have to teach our junior CEOs, because they are so focused on, okay, I have to achieve, I don't know, the first in human, the first patient, maybe complete the VNV and so on. And sometimes they are so execution driven that they forget to go out, have dinner with someone, build up relationship with another one. And at the end of the day, exactly as you said, you don't need them now. You will need them maybe on the next round. And this would be the time that you can benefit from the seeds that you planted.
Yeah, no doubt. And I always share this with, in particular, as you rightly point out, earlier stage inexperienced founders and CEOs, because they almost always look at the investor's cap table now. But communicating with an investor that's suitable for your next round means that when you're achieving the milestones that you've put in together, they're a little bit more confident that actually what you plan is what you deliver. So whenever you start speaking with them on the raise that they're suitable for, they already know you a lot better, both personally, but also from an execution perspective as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And what do you think medtech founders most often underestimate when they're building a business? Time, cost, regulation. What's your opinion on that?
So we spoke about relationship with the community, I would say. Yeah. And I think today in Israel, I think many of us, many of the CEOs underestimate the reimbursement landscape, the complexity, the changes. Even if we understand it as it is now, the changes are coming so often, and you have to. It's not like the FDA. Okay, I know I'm 510K. This is what I need to do, and that's it. Okay, once in few years, maybe there is a change. With reimbursement, the changes are much more often, much more frequently, and I think most of the CEOs underestimate it. The other thing that I would like to highlight, many of the Israeli companies, and now I'm speaking specifically about Israeli, as are long lasting, okay? And maybe all over the world. I mean, we used to sell company at a very early stage. Now we sell company at a much later stage after commercialization. And we forget sometimes about the IP that should be kept updated, extended, getting more and more claims, more and more IP along the years. We did the IP in 2020, whatever, and now we are focused on the product and the commercialization, and we forgot this piece. So I encourage all CEOs, I would say, in MedTech to refresh the IP portfolio from time to time. Keep it once a year. I don't know, as a reminder, okay, let's look. Is there something new? Can we do something else? Can we expand it? Can we refresh it? Because at the end of the day, when you reach to the point that there is an acquirer sitting with you, this would be part of the due diligence and part of the, I would say, even part of the price that they are going to pay.
Yeah, of course.
According to your IP portfolio. So those are the 2 points I would like to highlight.
It absolutely makes sense because, as you rightly point out, sometimes you rely on the IP that you've maybe taken either as an academic or you've come across and you've built your product around it. But then technology moves, and at the same time, you learn a lot of new things. So it's only natural that the product develops and evolves in that stage as well. So when you're reviewing an investment opportunity, what makes you say no quickly to a potential investment?
Good question. I shouldn't disclose this.
Well, as much as you can. I appreciate, obviously. Okay. I don't want your secret sauce, that's for sure.
First, typos, okay? People that don't pay enough attention to the email they wrote me or to the presentation that they attached to it, and I open it and I see some typos. I said, okay, this is kind of. Second is long presentation. I mean, too detailed presentation. People would like to give you everything on the first meeting, the first site. I don't need everything. Convince me that I would like to have the second site. And that's what you need to do. So I would say those are the 2 things on the emails that I'm getting on the deal flow. The third, which doesn't cause me to say immediately no, but I'm kind of asking myself, okay, is it the right guy to invest in? Is people that are not coming prepared to a meeting. They don't know who I am or who are my partners, and and we have to start from scratch. Okay, but as I said, those I'm not saying no. I'm just getting curious. Those that I will say no. Those that, although I told them who I am, okay, I'm an MD, I understand the material, I understand the disease, you can go ahead and let's go into the second chapter. They continue to do the presentation and the talk according to what they decided to come with. Those I see a little bit, the question I have in my mind at that moment is, are they going to listen to me when I'm going to be on the board? Are they the right team member that we can work together with? So as a tip to anyone that is coming to meet me or my colleagues, first, learn a little bit about us. And second, listen to us even in these 45 minutes. I mean, sometimes we direct you to the direction that we would like to have in order to save you time or in order to skip some material that we already know. And if you are not collaborating with those small comments, you are going to raise question about what is next in our partnership.
It absolutely makes sense. And I think in particular, knowing that you have clinical background means that the language that they use even during the initial presentation is completely different, knowing whether they need to impress you with the clinical or with the financial data. And I'm assuming obviously that's part of the preparation phase. And at the same time, as you rightly point out, not only to listen to you, but also to be able to then adjust and evolve based on future conversations with other investors, because you're investing in people that you're going to be confident that they're going to be able to raise money all the way through to exit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's right.
So you're involved with companies across neurointervention, women's health, oncology diagnostics, obesity, robotics, contraception.
No, don't mention all of them. I stopped counting.
So which MedTech teams feel most underappreciated today?
I think the one that I really like, and now I have to say which kid I like the best.
Yeah, well, sorry for putting you on the spot.
No.
So
the
much that I think
it's not like, but it is fascinating me, and I think, as you said, it deserves more attention, is neuro. Neurodegenerative diseases, disorders, Alzheimer, MCIs, traumatic brain injuries. I think we can do more with medical devices, with MedTech.
Yeah.
We are not giving it enough attention and enough money. Attention means enough funding. And if you ask me, I would like to see more and more innovation towards this direction, and with the innovation to be able to bring more and more funding.
Yeah. So obviously some of the companies that you're involved in are focusing on procedural standardization or maybe reducing operator dependency. And obviously that's where robotics is heading as well. Is that one of the biggest opportunities in MedTech, you think, going forward?
Look, in MedTech, we would like, what we are going to see is that there is a need to reduce costs, and to be more efficient in respect to manpower, because we have less and less people on the therapeutic side, but more and more people that require therapy. So the balance between people that treat and people that need the treatment is going to be into the side of the people who need treatment, and we have to find ways to be more efficient. And this is where robotic is taking a stage. The second technology that we will see more and more is using AIs in different way, with or without robotics. So the answer is yes. I absolutely see we need to be more efficient, and more efficient meaning saving and less people work in specific situations.
And I mean, robotics and similar as AI has created huge excitement, but also some very overfunded companies as well. How do you then decide when robotics is genuinely needed and when it's going to create that obviously next big step?
So first, I would like to see robotics that are not too expensive, because one of the things of most companies that are dealing with robotics is the price. I mean, an intuitive set up a very high price of robotics, but this cannot survive. We need to reduce the price. And second, what I would like to see in a novel robotic company is a change, is a different way of thinking than taking a robot like the Da Vinci or the Intuitive and change it a little bit. So I would like to see a disruptive company that resolve problems that the Da Vinci cannot do, or maybe it can do it, but not in a very elegant way. So I would like to see out of the box thinking when we speak about robotics.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
No, no doubt. And I think you're absolutely right. And especially when you look at some not so wealthy countries and hospitals, you cannot have 5 or 6 Da Vincis into your
Right.
hospital. And reality is that you need that ability to schedule and maximize on that technology.
Yeah, and the Da Vinci, each of the Da Vinci requires, it's not just the Da Vinci, it requires a room, it requires a space. I would like to see, part of the being cheap or is being mobile. I would like to see the robot be able to move from one room to another. Because in those specific countries, setting 5 robots in one hospital means that you are going to have at least 5 rooms. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'm not speaking about the sterilization that relates to that and all the other logistics around. But so if we speak about robotics, I think that the next generation of robots would be an efficient robot, small, mobile, and be able to do a procedure that either cannot be done by the Intuitive or Intuitive-like, or can be done, but at a very not elegant way.
Yeah. And the other field where you're involved and I see, I would say, some impetus as well is women's health field. It seems like the field is getting a little bit more attention, but capital is not necessarily following in the same way.
I wish that it would get more and more attention. Yeah. Yesterday I told someone, one of my investors, when I speak about prostate, I can get an audience.
Yeah.
Audience, money, capital, everything I can get.
Yeah.
When I speak about pelvic floor for further, I don't get any attention. So, and this is really ridiculous. This is something that I don't understand. I don't understand why we don't have more investors to start with and more companies that are going after this specific market. I mean, if you look on the big Boston Scientifics, Medtronic, Olympus, and others, either they have a very small department on women health or they don't. And everything starts there. If they will have, and they will do acquisition, people would like to invest, so we will have more investors and we will have more innovation. I mean, so I really can't understand that this is something that I still have to figure out in my next step.
Well, I think I'm equally as puzzled, because when you look at the total addressable market on these issues,
the same.
It's still competitive. It's as big, if not bigger, than some of the areas that actually are attracting a little bit more investment.
Hysterectomy and prostatectomy, I think they are more or less the same size.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'll closely follow that, and I hope you do find the answer to it.
I do hope so.
So going back,
I was, when we established our own fund, I said, okay, I will invest. I am a female, I will invest, but I don't want to invest only on women health technology. I don't think that's fair to do only that.
Yeah.
But I do want to invest more in that field. I do want to see more and more investors.
Fully understand that. And if you don't mind coming back to your board member involvement and experience, what does a good medtech board actually go beyond governance?
I would like to see on a board people that are coming from different angles and can work with either the CEO or the CFO or the chairman on specific angle. Okay, so we have a common ground on the governments, as you said, but if I'm more into clinical and regulatory, I would like, not during the board, but they can use my knowledge and my expertise on that specific topic.
Yeah.
If someone else is coming from different background, So I think a good board member will bring a little bit more from what he did before in order for the company to be more successful.
Yeah, so you rely on them for that additional layer of experience and advice that you cannot bring from the team itself.
Absolutely, that's one. And the second one, you rely on them when you would like to open doors for strategic, for KOLs, anything that the company needs.
Yeah.
Those are your people that you come to them and tell them, okay, I would like to reach this point. Can you help me to reach that point?
What are, in your opinion, the biggest founder blind spots you see in board meetings?
Tough. I think one of the things would be that because all of us as board members are sitting in different boards, you have to create discussion. So many of the founders are coming to the board, okay, I'll just read the slides, go over this, and disappear after an hour. I think a good CEO will, while he is building the board deck, should keep some time to a specific topic to be discussed on a board level. This is his opportunity to have all of us at the same room and hear or listen to different opinion. And this is something that is very important, I think.
Yeah.
Most of the founders, they treat the board is, okay, this is necessary, we'll go over it and disappear. And I think especially the young founders, the junior ones, you have my attention for the next hour. Get use of it. Don't boring me with the same slides, and make it more interactive. I mean, those are small companies. We are not making a lot of decisions. So this is your opportunity to have Irit and Mr. X and Mr. Y in the same room and brainstorm something that you would like to know, you would like to expand, and so on.
Yeah.
And this is where I see most of them making a lot of mistakes because they just use it. Let's read the slide and get over it.
Yeah, just update rather than get back from the board.
Exactly.
I mean, when you're running a business, especially in the early stages, not much is happening between a month 1 and month 2. So rather than utilizing that time for just a small update, making sure that you gain from that experience.
Exactly.
And speaking about experience, and this has been very, very interesting, and thank you for your time. And maybe as a closing question, from your vast experience and knowledge, what advice would you give to a founder building a medtech company in 2026 and beyond?
Okay. For listen, and listen. I mean, listen, and I would say listen, interact.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think they have to listen a lot, and they have to interact with whoever, with their people, with their employees, with advisors, with investors, with current investor and future investors. And as much as they can listen to them and bring this knowledge into the company, they can be successful. And specifically for 26 and beyond, I think also capital efficiency is very important. So every dollar that you are spending, make sure that it brings you $2 on the valuation at the end.
Yeah, it's amazing. Irit, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Dave.
Perfect.